Hi, I'm Astrologer Penny Dix. Welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to my in-depth overview look at the astrological energies for the year 2025. And if you want to know what is happening for each of you individually, the 12 zodiac signs from Aries all the way through to Pisces will be linked in the description box of this overview video. And what I recommend with listening to your zodiac signs is that you listen to your rising sign as well as your sun sign. And some people also find it very helpful to listen to their moon sign if you know it. So remember, sun sign, rising sign, and moon sign. But the way I interpret the astrology for each individual zodiac sign tends to focus on the houses that will come and the areas of your life that are most affected, because that's based on the rising sign of your particular chart. So let's have a look at what this is all about, because what I'm going to do is run through the major energies of 2025. And I can tell you, we are moving into an extraordinary year. Yes, yet another extraordinary year of astrological energies. Because all of the outer planets, they're the big boys, as I used to fondly call them. So both Neptune and Saturn will change signs for a short while. Uranus will change signs for a short while. Jupiter will change signs. Pluto has changed signs. But I'm going to run through it. And then after I've run through the basic astrological energies we can expect, including eclipses and retrogrades, so you might want a pen and paper or a notepad or your iPad or tablet to make notes as I go through this for the dates of the retrogrades and the eclipses. I'm not going to pay much attention to the full moons and the new moons because I do separate videos for those every month for those of you who have not seen any of my content before. And basically I'll do that, and then I have a chart set for the point in time when we move from December the 31st at midnight into January the 1st at that tipping point as we move into 2025. So that'll be an interesting chart because that gives us a kind of, it's like an introduction. It's a point in time. It's saying this is how this year may unfold. So why is this year so super extraordinary? Because haven't we had enough of the extraordinary astrology of the last, 5 years, since 2020, when the pandemic hit? We have had very unusual and quite life-changing energies that none of us have been untouched by. And this year, 2025, is not going to be any different. I think what we're going to notice is that we will all change enormously. The growth that we potentially can experience on an internal level with the astrological guidance this year is enormous. And I think a lot of us will be really learning to view the world in a different way. I think astrology will find itself much more mainstream than it has before, as it moves away from the kind of the last 100 years where it got reduced in a sense to fortune telling, horoscopes, and being something a little bit esoteric and different. So I think astrology is going to be taken much more seriously this year. And that's going to come through Uranus dipping its toes for a few months into the sign of Gemini from Taurus, where it has been for the last 7 years, because Uranus rules the sign of astrology, amongst other things. But I'll come to that in a minute. The other thing I wanted to say before I just get into the intricate details of the energies for this year is I will be looking at the eclipses. I will not focus on full moons and new moons because I do all the separate videos about them throughout the year. So let's just cut to the quick, shall we, and get to the real deal of what's actually going to happen this year, how it's going to affect us, and what we can do with the energy. So what is so extraordinary about this year is that the 5 outer planets, so that's Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, Jupiter, all change signs. Pluto, our planet of transformation, our planet that is about beginnings and endings and can take us down into the depths of the muddy waters to find the alchemical gold. Pluto rules Scorpio. It's fixed. But in November of 2024, it finally moved into the sign of Aquarius, an air sign. So what we are getting this year, it's like Pluto has introduced us to this different element that we are going to experience this year, not just through Pluto moving into a fixed air sign, but both Uranus will be moving into an air sign because it will be moving, dipping its toes from the Earth sign, which is fixed, of Taurus into Gemini, which is an air sign and flexible and mutable. More of that a little later on. The other interesting energy is Jupiter begins the year in an air sign, Gemini. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, opportunity. It's a beneficial planet. It brings opportunities and good luck. And it's going to be moving into the sign of Cancer, which of course is a water sign and cardinal. But that's towards later in the year. And then this brings me neatly round to the 2 planets that I want to talk about first. Both Neptune and Saturn are moving, dipping their toes in, flirting with the energy of the first sign of the Zodiac, Aries. Now, why is this so momentous, and why are all astrologers getting so super excited about the movement of these 2 planets? Well, first of all, Saturn takes only about 29 to 30 years to go around the sun, but Neptune takes a lot longer. So none of us have experienced Neptune in Aries. That is a first to start with. Now, Neptune is going to be moving out of the sign that it rules, Pisces, which of course is feminine, it's mutable, it's water, and Neptune is about our intuition, but it can also be sometimes not seeing things clearly. It can be confusion, delusion, longing. It can represent our kind of psychological vulnerabilities. But whilst it's been in the sign of Pisces, it's been very comfortable, and it's been encouraging the planet to trust our instinct and gut feelings much more deeply. Now, what is going to happen is Saturn, the planet of structure, boundaries, rules, and timing, has been in Pisces for a couple of years. It's not comfortable in Pisces. Pisces is not its domain. But what it's been doing is bringing structure to that which is formless. Now, you can take this on whatever level you choose. We will see this on the world stage. That which is formless, that has not been making sense, can start to make sense. Or a degree, an element of containment and boundaries can be brought into the difficult areas and challenges that the planet has been having. And if you take that down a few notches to your personal lives, then that can also be relevant. Now, Neptune and Saturn are actually going to be conjunct towards the end of Pisces, right going into the beginning of Aries. So they are finishing a whole, all the way round journey of the Zodiac sign. So that in itself is representative, culmination, completion, finishing, endings, solution, resolution. Moving into Aries, which is a fire sign, it's masculine. It's ruled by the vibrant, warlike planet Mars. It's a cardinal sign. It's very proactive. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's about new beginnings. So Neptune is going to be a little bit kind of like, whoa, where have I just arrived? Am I okay here? Is it a bit hot? Is it a little bit steamy? Because I think Neptune is going to take a while to adjust to the heat and fire and the energy of the sign of Aries. So that's going to take some getting used to for all of us. On a positive level, I think with our intuition and our psychic abilities, Neptune's move into Aries will give us more confidence to follow our dreams, to trust our intuition, to go with that flow. The flow that we've learned to go with through the waters of Pisces. Saturn, the planet of structure, rules, and timing, then also enters Aries. Now, Saturn, of course, is a feminine planet and it rules the sign of Capricorn. And it's earth. It's earth-based, whereas Neptune is water. And it's cardinal, because Capricorn is cardinal, which means it is proactive. So therefore, the cardinality and the assertive behavior of the sign of Aries picks up on that energy of Saturn, and they will be compatible on that level. Now, Saturn coming together with Neptune in Aries, as they do, they are more or less conjunct from the 26th of May 2025 till the 6th of June in Aries, but it's not exact. That doesn't actually happen till the spring of 2026. So we're just going to get a flavor and a taste. And if you think about it, it's almost, I feel, as if Saturn is coming in to act in a way as a container for the watery depths of the sign or the planet of Neptune, so that Neptune does not dampen down and put out the fires of Aries. so that Saturn's cardinality and ability to take action at the right time can guide the intuitive part of Neptune to make the right decisions moving forward on this new path that Aries represents as the start of a new period of history. The other thing I want to mention about Neptune is that it also can represent poisons and viruses and those kind of sort of drugs and substances and alcohol. And it may be that collectively humanity begins to instinctively pull away from the substances that are fun but don't do us a lot of good, so that Saturn can empower Neptune through its energy being in Aries to actually enable us to curb our addictions to sugar, for example, our addictions to alcohol, to drugs, whether they're prescribed or unprescribed. And I think that intuitively, collectively, we will, because Pluto is in Aquarius, which is about the community at large, it's about seeing the bigger picture. I do feel that we are going to be moving much more towards a kind of community consciousness, a realization that if we don't, we've been aware that we have to take care of the planet. We've been aware that we have been damaging and hurting our planet severely by the way we've been treating it. And so with Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries, I think we're actually going to take more account, be more accountable for what we do with our bodies, what we put into our bodies. It feels as if there's going to be a really strong movement collectively, like Rupert Sheldrake calls it morphic resonance, where many people come up with the same thoughts and ideas simultaneously, even though they have no obvious connection to each other. And I think that through the psychic interweb, that Pluto in Aquarius will be encouraging us to be aware of, that we are all psychically connected, then the impulse to take better care of our physical bodies, and Uranus, the planet of change, the unexpected, of shocks, in the last degrees of Taurus, which of course is also about the physical and the body and luxury and food and sitting back and enjoying nice things, I think will also be waking a lot of us up to what we need to do to actually not just get the internal psychological growth that will come from Pluto's move into Aquarius, because we will collectively move and lift and raise our frequencies to a higher state of consciousness, whether we want to or not. Those that are slower at picking up the thread of what they need to allow their psyche, their soul to unravel, will get there. Maybe not in this life, but the ones or the people on the planet that need to be in this place now, which most probably, if you're listening to this video, you are one of those people who has already woken up or is in a process of waking up. If you're not, you'll probably switch off now. Just saying. So what I'm saying is just these two planets alone, moving from water to fire, are going to be hugely powerful energies. And they're at the beginning of the sign of Aries. So it really does set the stage for where we are going towards, moving towards, basically over the next 100, 200 years. It's super exciting. So let me just tell you quickly what and when Saturn and Neptune actually make these movements, because from the beginning of 2025, we're going to feel this energy building up. So for instance, Neptune actually first enters Aries on March the 30th. And then it goes retrograde in Aries on July the 4th. But it's got to 2 degrees of Aries, which is quite a significant move for a slow-moving planet. And then Neptune retrogrades back into Pisces from Aries on October the 22nd. Then Saturn moves into Aries on May the 25th, and then retrogrades in Aries on July the 13th at just 1 degree. So you see, between the 26th of May and the 6th of June, they are conjunct, but it's not exact. But we will feel the introduction, the power of this energy. So Saturn leaves Aries because it goes retrograde in Aries on July the 13th, and it leaves Aries on September the 1st and returns to Pisces, but just those late degrees. And then it goes direct in Pisces on the 28th of November, and it's retrograded back to 25 degrees of Pisces. So it's gone quite a way back. And then Neptune finally moves into Aries on the 27th of January, 2026. And Saturn will finally move into Aries on the 15th of February, 2026. And this exact conjunction that we will feel the energy building throughout 2025 is not until the middle of February 2026. So that's one of the major energies that we need to be aware of. And I've spent, as you can see, quite a bit of time looking at that energy because it really does colour what we can expect this year. Now, Uranus, that is a masculine planet, because Aquarius is a masculine sign, it's air, it's fixed. And Uranus is currently in Taurus, which is feminine, and it's fixed in this earth sign, which it has not been comfortable with. It's brought volatility to the stock market, to the financial markets. It will have brought volatility to our own lives. Many of us will have, in a sense, almost been forced to move, whether we wanted to or not. We will have been, Uranus has been encouraging us to change, to get out of any fixed ways of being and living. And Uranus has really been pushing us to make those changes. And of course, it will also be, and has been, literally making the earth move. And it's caused volcanic activity in some parts of the world and extreme weather conditions in some parts of the world. So Uranus will go direct in Taurus because currently, as I record this on the 24th of November, 2024, Uranus is retrograde in Taurus, and it goes direct in Taurus on the 30th of January, and it will be at 23 degrees. And for any of you who have your sun or your moon, which is really a major, or your ascendant or even your midheaven at between 22 and 26 degrees of Taurus, you will have really noticed this energy encouraging you, almost like pleading with you to wake up, change, to rebel, to absolutely get rid of all the cobwebs in your life and start anew. So Uranus will dip its toes into Gemini, the air sign of Gemini, and it will move in there on the 7th of July next year. And Gemini is a masculine sign, it's mutable and it's air. So now we have not only Uranus in Gemini, but also Jupiter is still in Gemini. So that is quite interesting. So we have two of the outer planets in an air sign. Gemini is about thought, thinking. Jupiter and Uranus here. Wow, this is rebellion. This is rebellious thought. This is expansive thought. This is invention, innovation. This is incentive. This is pure excitement of the potential of what can unfold for each and every one of us this year. I think we're going to be seeing enormous leaps forward in science and technology. That's partly due to Pluto in Aquarius. But we really are going to, I think, hear some very exciting things this year. And one of the things I want to say, and I have said before, is don't be concerned about artificial intelligence. Embrace it, use it, work with it. Be its master. Do not be scared of it. Do not let it be your master. Have a bit of faith that humankind and human consciousness knows well enough what it is tinkering with, and will make sure that it does not create a kind of Frankenstein monster that we cannot control. Well, at least I think that's what we will be able to do. I think we can control that. I don't buy into that timeline, and I'm not going down that timeline. So then Uranus will go retrograde in Gemini on September the 6th, and it will only have reached 1 degree of Gemini. But interestingly, it will be conjunct Sedna. Now, if you remember, Sedna is one of those outer dwarf planets, and Sedna is the goddess of the sea in the Inuit traditions. You may have heard me talk about the myth of Sedna and how she was in the boat with her father and others in a storm. They were trying to make their way back to land, and her father had come to take her back from the man she loved and had sort of forcibly taken her from whom she wanted to be with and shoved her in the boat and said, "Enough of this, you're coming home." Now the storm gets so bad that they all realize that for any of them to be saved, one would have to be sacrificed. Sedna's father chose his daughter. The metaphor and the symbolism is so extraordinary, because on one level, it's the divine masculine cutting itself off from the divine feminine. Or we could look at it another way and say, is it the divine masculine setting the divine feminine free? Because what happens is Sedna grasps onto the side of the boat, and her father grabs a knife and chops off her fingers to stop her getting back in the boat. and then chops off her hands, chops off her arms, until she has to let go. And so she lets go and goes down into the depths of the ocean, but she is transformed into the sea goddess, and the limbs that her father severed become the creatures of the sea, like dolphins, whales, sea lions. So there's a very much a transformational edge to this myth. And there's something also, I think, about the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And I do think that 2025 is the year that we consciously make an effort to get more balance between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Because patriarchy and matriarchy, which I see as the shadow side of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, do not serve us going forward. It needs to be done. It needs to be over. And that is part of Pluto's move into Aquarius from the sign of Capricorn. This is what Pluto has been trying to deconstruct in Capricorn before Pluto's move into Aquarius. So Uranus is going to be conjunct Sedna for several months. That, for me, is unexpected twists, turns, rise of the divine feminine. Now, one of the things that comes to me is the divide, which I think has arisen, the split, the kind of almost cut down the middle of the United States because of the recent election, and that there is such a vast chasm and difference between the Republican worldview and the Democratic worldview. And somehow this wound needs to be healed. There is something about the energy of Uranus conjunct Sedna. Sedna can represent the abuse of the feminine, the victimization of the feminine, but also the feminine being set free. So I give that to you in America, because I know some of you, because I talk to some of you, my clients in the States, who are so concerned that the feminine will be losing their kind of human rights to what they choose to do with their bodies, and feel quite, I suppose, trapped and imprisoned by the kind of, I think what it is, it's the death throes of the patriarchal system. And I think that the divine feminine, as long as you stay authentic and true to yourselves, you do not have to become dominated by the masculine in any form, because what we look for and what the whole of the universe is ultimately about is harmony and balance, the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine. And there is something about the divine mind of the universe. It's as if the universe is this huge consciousness, this pulsating energy, we are just single cells of this massive, massive divine conscious brain. And we are looking for the harmony of the masculine and the feminine, the duality. We are not just one on our own, even though at times it feels so much as if we are alone and separate. And in many ways, we have to heal that wound within ourselves. This is what Carl Jung talked about with his take on analytical psychotherapy. It's about working towards the kind of individuation and the healing of the psyche within, and the conjunctio, the sacred marriage, the sacred wedding of the masculine and the feminine. It's not about being separate. It's not about being a woman and having a dominant masculine or a dominant feminine. It's about harmony and balance. Now, Gemini, where Uranus is going to be conjunct Sedna, is about, Gemini is the twins. So it is about duality. So Uranus is looking for the freedom of speech, of communication, to stand up for the feminine through its conjunction with Sedna in this part of 2025. And once it goes retrograde on September the 6th, it will leave Gemini and go back into Taurus on November the 8th, 2025. And it won't fully move into the air sign of Gemini until the 27th of April, 2026. So then it will be moving into a masculine air sign, which is mutable, which brings in some flexibility. And of course, it will again be conjunct Sedna. So this discombobulation between the masculine and the feminine, and this search and this, I think, collective conscious awareness of the need for the conjunctio, the sacred wedding between the masculine and the feminine worldwide, on an inner level and an outer level, on a conscious level and on a collective conscious and unconscious level. 2025 is the year of preparation for that. 2026, we will start to see the results, what we have learnt through the movement of these planets in 2025. Let's move on to Jupiter, because Jupiter, that of course rules the sign of Sagittarius, and Jupiter is the planet of energy, of action, of opportunity, luck, expansion. It expands everything it touches. It rules Sagittarius. It's masculine. It's a fire planet. It's mutable. So for a while, we have Jupiter in Gemini, an air sign, Uranus in Gemini, an air sign, and both Saturn and Neptune in Aries, a fire sign. So we've got these elements suddenly elevated into the public arena of air and fire. Now, Jupiter actually is retrograde at the beginning of the year in Gemini, and it's at 13 degrees, and it doesn't go direct until the 4th of February at 11 degrees of Gemini. So it's not conjunct Uranus really ever at all at this point, and it won't be. But then Jupiter stays direct, and it moves into the cardinal feminine water sign of Cancer on June the 9th. Now, Cancer, of course, is about home, family, ancestry. It's our DNA, and it's also our refuge, our comfort, our comfy chair. It's our safe place. And here's Jupiter coming in to kind of sharpen things up a bit, or bring a little bit of optimism and hope into the kind of areas of our home which may have seemed a little bit kind of hidden and dusty and uncomfortable. And I think when Jupiter is in Cancer, there will be more time for inner reflection and connection with family. So it will bring in a nice kind of edge to the energies of 2025 that will be very helpful. Now, Jupiter goes retrograde on November the 11th at 25 degrees of Cancer. And then next year, when I do my overview, we'll see when it goes direct and moves finally back into the sign of Cancer. And then we need to, of course, look at Pluto, because Pluto, as I said, rules Scorpio. Pluto is the planet of transformation, transition. Pluto is the god Hades, and yet Pluto is actually a feminine energy. So there's a kind of misnomer between the kind of myth or the mythological side of Hades and Pluto, seen as a masculine energy, the god of Hades, the god of hell, the god of the underworld. And yet Pluto is a feminine energy. So maybe this is where, when we are actually in spirit form, we have the duality of masculine and feminine energies in that sacred marriage. And Pluto is in Aquarius till 2044, till the beginning of 2044. I really hope I'm around then, but who knows? I have no idea. None of us know. Whatever age we are, we never know, which is why we have to live in the present. And Pluto always pops up to kind of remind us that we are mortal, because Pluto is immortal. All the gods are immortal. And just an interesting thing about Mercury, because I'm going to come on to the retrogrades in a minute. Mercury is the only god that can go between the underworld and the overworld. Mercury is immortal, but has permission to be the messenger of the gods, to travel from the overworld to the underworld and vice versa. So Pluto, which I have talked about at length in my video about Pluto in Aquarius, so I'm not going to go into that in great depth. And if you want to go to my channel, you can listen. It was a live stream, actually, that I did about Pluto's move into Aquarius. And that will come under my live playlist stream. But Pluto goes retrograde on May the 4th, and it will be at 3 degrees of Aquarius. Now, I want to say, do not worry if you have your sun or moon, or ascendant, or descendant, or midheaven, or IC at between 1 and 3 degrees of Aquarius. Because Pluto is a massively powerful planet, but do not project into it any of its sort of the archetypal dark negative stuff, because it doesn't belong there. Pluto is transformational. It's empowering. You know, these planets help empower us. They, you know, the divine mind wants us to have what we want. It wants us to live a fulfilled life. It wants us to enjoy life, to help the divine mind become more of what it is and know itself and grow in a better and better way. We are all part of that divine mind. And you know, you're super lucky if you have Pluto conjunct your moon, sun, descendant, ascendant, midheaven, IC, because it brings enormous opportunities for change and transformation in areas of your life that you may have got stuck and fixed in. And the thing to do with this kind of energy is not fight against the flow of change, but go with it. Trust it, honor it, respect it. If you go with the energy, the flow that the river is trying to take you, then actually you gain the rewards that these planets are endeavoring to give us. Remember, a birth chart is a roadmap. It's a kind of blueprint, a unique blueprint, your unique blueprint of what you can expect in your life and the various twists and turns and timelines you can choose to explore in this particular lifetime. And, remember to check out your individual signs, which are all linked in this overview video. So you don't have to listen to everybody's, but remember, go to your ascendant, which is your rising sign, go to your sun sign, and some people like to also listen to their moon sign. And it's also interesting if you know what your significant other's rising sign is and people in your family or friends, then listen to theirs as well, because it really gives you a wonderful kind of bird's eye view of what you can expect in 2025. So Pluto goes retrograde on May the 4th, and then it doesn't actually go direct. It goes all the way back to 1 degree of Aquarius on October the 14th. And so it really is just introducing us very gently to the age of Aquarius. And we're going to see enormous strides forward, especially in the second half of the year, with space exploration, space travel. We are going to, my belief is, my senses have the evidence of the fact that the universe is actually teeming with life, or life forms. They may not be in the form that we experience ourselves, but I think that, in the sense and in the way that many people are now channeling star beings, myself included, and please check out my other channel called Channeling with Penny and Sarah. And, because both of us have in-depth discussions about the blue light beings and teachers that we both channel. And the teachings that they have to bring are really to try and help us, our consciousness, expand and grow, and to actually show us that, of course, there are many forms of life in the universe. And some of that life is in the form of light, so that these beings have evolved to a state of enlightened consciousness that they do not need to experience the 3D physicality that we experience. We have chosen to come here and explore life from the physical level. And so a lot of these energies and frequencies that we will connect with, we will realize we are connecting with them on basically a psychic and telepathic level. But I think there will also be discoveries, with sort of the explorations that I know are going to be launched, I believe, to the planet Mars again, which I think is very interesting. And, with Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries, and Mars rules Aries. And I think they will find a very minute signs that there has been life of some description there, or is. I think also potentially on the moon, because there's water. Where there's water, there is life. If water has been on any of the cosmic bodies, not just in our solar system and galaxy, but in any of the millions of galaxies in the universe, where there is water, there is life. If you've watched any of Veda Austin's videos, you will know that her view and her experience is that water is basically conscious. It has conscious properties. It constantly can recreate itself. It is as if it has always been here and it always will be. So I just throw that in. Do check out her videos. She's done 1 or 2 interviews with the lovely British astrologer Pam Gregory. So I highly recommend those on Pam's channel. So coming back to Pluto, it goes retrograde, it goes direct at 1 degree of Aquarius on October the 14th and will stay direct then till 2026. Now, the only other energy that I want to look at apart from the retrogrades and the eclipses is Chiron is retrograde in Aries, so it's still going to be in Aries. Chiron, remember, is our wounded healer, our centaur, our space object from the group of space objects known as the centaurs. And I think Chiron represents that inner wound that we all carry. It's almost like we have a birth trauma, because if you think about it, just being born is a trauma for the baby. And some births aren't easy. So wouldn't it actually make a lot of sense that it takes us a long time to get over the trauma of just being born, even though it may be deeply embedded in our unconsciousness? So that is what I feel Chiron is representative of. And of course, it's still in Aries and it will remain in Aries. And it goes retrograde again in Aries on the 30th of July. And it will be at 27 degrees. So it has long retrogrades and long periods of being direct. And as we go through the year, I will talk about it at various times when planets make various aspects to it. But now let's move on to the retrogrades, because we have, of course, our famous planet Mercury, our planet of communication, thinking, thought, documents. Don't get worried about retrogrades. It gives us an opportunity to, to review, to relook at, to renew, to redo, to go back, to relax, to actually take a breather, and to just take a step back sometimes from the fast pace of modern day life. So Mercury actually is direct in Sagittarius on January the 1st, because it went direct on the 15th of December in Sagittarius in 2024. And it's still direct as we open the year, and it's direct at 19 degrees. Now, the next retrograde is on March the 15th in Aries. So yet again, another fire sign. So Mercury retrograde in the fire sign of Aries, 9 degrees it goes retrograde at. And that is going to be kind of, I think, just giving us a heads up to slow down, to take it easy, to take a breath, to really kind of just take a step back and breathe. And then it goes direct on April the 7th in Pisces, because it will have retrograded all the way back into the sign of Pisces at 26 degrees. But I'm going to talk about these retrogrades in more depth when I come to do them as they occur during the year. This is just to give you a heads up in case you want to make a note. So the next retrograde is in the fire sign of Leo, and that's on July the 18th, and that's at 15 degrees. And then Mercury goes direct again in Leo at 4 degrees on August the 11th. And then its final retrograde of the year is on November the 9th, again in Sagittarius, where it started the year, at 6 degrees. And then it goes direct on November the 29th in Scorpio at 20 degrees. So there we go, that's Mercury. Now then we need to just look at Mars, because Mars goes retrograde at 1 degree of Leo on January the 1st. This has been long awaited for, and we've all been talking about it through the end of 2024. So Mars is the planet of action, energy, assertion, anger. He's the god of war. Mars is also about sexuality. So Mars is in the fire sign of Leo, and Mars is in the fire sign of Leo, and Leo is fixed. Mars, going down the wrong line, Mars rules Aries. It's a cardinal planet. It wants action. So it's quite restricted in the fire sign of Leo. So it's going to be chomping at the bit. So you might find that you've got so much energy you don't know what to do with it, or things are slowing you down and getting in your way, and you just can't make the headway that you want to make. And so it then goes back into Cancer, back into the sign of Cancer, and it stays there till the 24th of February, and it will be at 17 degrees at Cancer. It goes all the way back to 17 degrees of Cancer when it goes direct. But again, I will talk about that in more depth when I do my weekly live videos and in anything that I do, full moons, new moons, as the year progresses. We've also got a Venus retrograde in 2025. Venus, our planet of love, of self-worth, of value, of money, and of relationship. And Venus goes retrograde on March the 2nd, also in Aries, a fire sign, at 10 degrees. So that's going to be, again, quite challenging for Venus, because Venus is trying to get home to Taurus, the sign she rules. And suddenly she goes retrograde. And for any of you that want to know about the meaning of a retrograde planet, they don't actually go backwards. It's just that tropical Western astrology is based on what we call geocentric astrology, which means we look at the cosmos, at the planets going around us and the sun. We look at them in relation to standing on planet Earth. So everything is in relation to what happens on Earth. Now, when a planet appears to go retrograde, the planets all go at different speeds. Their orbiting or orbital path is different for each particular planet because of the distance they are from the sun. So the planets that are furthest out, the big outer boys, go very slowly. And if they have a retrograde, it's merely because the Earth is moving much faster and whizzing around the sun, and we're leaving the outer planets, or in this case, Venus, behind a little bit as she slows down. She won't be very happy about this because, as I said, she just wants to get back into Taurus. But anyway, she goes all the way back to 24 degrees of Pisces. And so she will be luxuriating in the kind of, it's almost like she's going to have a spa time. She's just going to go and have a little time off in a spa and relax a bit and attend to her psyche. Maybe she's going on a retreat, a kind of spiritual retreat when she, retrogrades into Pisces. But she goes direct on April the 13th. Now let's come to the eclipses. And on March the 14th, we have a total lunar eclipse in Virgo, and that's at 23 degrees and 58. And on March the 29th, we have a partial solar eclipse in Aries at 8 degrees and 53 minutes. Now, I'm not going to go and say anything about these eclipses at this point, because you won't remember and it won't be relevant, but it might just be nice to make a note of it. And the next pair of eclipses are in September on the 7th, and we have a total lunar eclipse in Pisces, because remember, we've now got the nodes have moved backwards into Pisces and Virgo, apart from that solar eclipse, which is still in Aries. But this always happens. It's due to the kind of the ecliptic and the angle that it goes round. So we have the total lunar eclipse in Pisces at 15 degrees 24 minutes on September the 7th. And on September the 21st, a partial solar eclipse in Virgo at 28 degrees and 59 minutes. And before I look at the chart for the moment in time, there are some major transits this year. And again, I'm not going to go into them in any great depth because there's just too much. And it's too much, I think, to take in. We know we're going to have Saturn conjunct Neptune May the 6th in April and May till the 6th of June. It's not exact. Uranus will be sextile Saturn in March, April, June and July. Pluto is still going to be sextile Neptune in April, May and June. And Pluto is also sextile Saturn, sextile Neptune in June, July, August and September. So you can see there is a kind of emphasis on the second half of the year with more major aspects coming up. But at the beginning of the year, we've got more of this energy of the Mars retrograde, which is going to slow us down a bit. And I think just give us a chance to recharge our batteries a bit and kind of think, right, how am I going to actually attend to all of this? So moving on from that, Neptune in Aries will square Jupiter in Cancer from June the 19th. And Saturn in Aries will square Jupiter in Cancer from June the 15th and in July. Mars in Leo will be opposite Pluto. Now this is important, and I will be talking about this in my weekly live broadcast, because Mars in Leo is going to be opposite Pluto again in Aquarius, and that's on January the 3rd and then again on April the 27th. And if you remember back to November the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th of 2024, which of course culminated in the United States election, we had the Mars in Cancer opposite Pluto in the late degrees of Capricorn, and it caused quite a rumpus. And so we have the same energy in January. That's going to be super interesting because Mars is now in Leo and Pluto, of course, is in Aquarius. And that could shed some different light on things linked with what was going on at the beginning of November 2024. The resolution for these things comes on April the 27th in 2025, when we have the final opposition between Mars in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius. So Saturn also trines Jupiter in October, November and December. Pluto trines Uranus in October, November and December. And Chiron, which of course is our wounded healer, squares Jupiter in November. And so Saturn, remember, is our planet of boundaries and structure and timing. So with any of the Saturn transits, just remember that they are very much about giving you a chance to take stock, to get back into the flow of timing, of sensing the right timing to take action or create something or look at what you want to manifest. So I'm going to do the chart, and so I'm going to get Jerry now. And Jerry, would you bring up the chart for the moment in time for the beginning of the year? And there it is. So let me just go to the chart, and this just gives us, if you see, it's an overview for 2025. And I've set it for universal time for London, and we have a Libra ascendant. So this emphasizes that harmony, balance, and action are going to be kind of center stage. It's something that we need to reflect on and get a sense of justice and balance back into our daily lives and onto the planet. And that 12th house is quite interesting. You've got Lilith in Libra. Lilith, remember, Adam's first wife, who demanded to be on top because she was not going to take any of that old SH1T from Adam. I spell it out because YouTube are quite particular about us using profanities, and I will observe the rules and conditions. And also, of course, the South Node is in Libra, and look at that. It's at 0 degrees, and it's just about to dip into Virgo. Now, the South Node is about what we bring in, our karma. So this is really what we are bringing with us from 2024. The symbol above the South Node is known as the part of fortune, and it's in Virgo. And I think collectively, on an inner level, because it's the 12th house, we're going to be feeling a little bit concerned about, especially at the beginning of the year, how things are unfolding, especially in the world in general. I think it is going to be a little bit volatile, because I'm looking now at Mars at 1 degree of Leo retrograde in the 10th house, which is, let's call it the soul path direction of the year. Mars is action. It's a fire planet. It's about aggression. It's the god of war. I think the energy and the anxiety or anxieties about being at that tipping point because of the events that have been happening on the planet, of that tipping point spilling over and creating a situation on the planet that none of us actually want, for reasons I don't have to go into. And I think collectively what we have to do is really intend every morning when we wake up, just lie there for a minute before you get out of bed, if your bladder will let you, and just send peace, harmony, common sense, and balance to the world leaders and the planet. I think that's really important. Now, the midheaven of this chart is Cancer. So there's going to be a sense, I think, this year of perhaps not wanting to go too far from home, actually quite liking being in one's safe home environment. There is a sense of that. And yet we also have Jupiter retrograde in Gemini in the 9th house, which of course in this chart is a Gemini house. It's ruled by Gemini, which is about communication and thought and thinking. And of course, Jupiter is about expansion. And also it's about spirituality. And it's the 9th house, which of course by Zodiac is a Sagittarius house. So it is about connecting to these higher frequencies. That really is going to be, I think, a big theme that you will hear coming out from astrologers, from channelers, from intuitives on YouTube. And I think collectively what this kind of movement is going to be trying to produce is for people to actually get to the point where we can collectively intend peace. We can manifest the timeline where we sort things out peacefully, where we get the world leaders to communicate. Gemini, overseas, anything at a distance. That's anyway my take on it. So then if we move around the chart, and it's interesting, I'm going clockwise, but of course I'm going kind of the opposite way to the way the houses go. But anyway, I'll continue. It's obviously what I'm meant to do. The 8th house we have ruled by Taurus in this chart, and Taurus is fixed earth, and it's about enjoying the finer things of life. And don't worry, we're going to have opportunities for that as well, because even though Uranus is here retrograde, and Uranus is our planet of shocks and the unexpected, maybe some of the unexpected things that will happen is that financially, the sort of financial world, the stock markets and the world economy will actually perhaps do a little bit better than we anticipated. And maybe because we are collectively brought back from the brink of war. I really hope I am right on this. I really, really hope I'm right, because I don't have to be right. But what I am talking about is the timeline I think we should all collectively try and intend for the future. And if there are enough of us intending that, then we stand a chance. But if we don't have enough of us, then that tipping point could boil over. And do I see that in this chart? No, I don't actually. Not particularly. No, I don't. So let's move on to the 7th house, which is ruled by Aries, which is interesting because they flipped over, because Aries, of course, is the first sign of the Zodiac, and here it's ruling the 7th house, and Libra is the 7th house and ruling the 1st house. So I just love the way you get these kind of opposites and flipping over and the layers of astrology. It's a very kind of almost like multi-dimensional kind of holograph, I always feel astrology is. And I think if you're trying to learn astrology and you're training in astrology, then actually to think of it in a kind of 5-dimensional kind of system, and to study the cosmos, to go out and look at the sky, to study astronomy, we've got all these wonderful apps on our phones where we can just point at a star and find out it's a planet. And we can get a sense that, good God, that's Jupiter up there. Or, oh my God, look at Mars so close to the moon, and all these kind of exciting things. So I hope that all the warmongers in the world and the naysayers and the media are wrong. And I think there's a tipping point that we have to collectively work hard at conveying positive energy into, to tip back into peace. So this 7th house, we have Chiron, of course, our trauma, our wounded healer. This could be a year where we see a lot of healing taking place in relationships that have gone through difficulties over the past year or so. A real kind of collective urge to make friends, to not hold grudges, to respond to the other, to respect each other's differences. So much respect has got lost. And, if you follow threads sometimes on media platforms like Facebook, people can be so critical, judgmental, and horrible. And you sort of or one sort of thinks, what happened to being polite and respecting differences and just responding and saying, well, it's not my view, but I respect your point of view. My reasons for not agreeing with you are X, Y, Z, so that you can have a debate, because it feels as if the art of debate has got lost. And that's a terrible, terrible shame. So I think there is a really good chance this year for relationship healing in general, whether that is between countries, whether it's between friends, whether it's between people who have enemies or have seen certain friends as enemies. You know, we've got to get away from the kind of baser instincts of jealousy and envy and competition. We have to keep our shadows in check. And then if we move round, no, actually what's interesting, before I leave the 7th house, we've got the vertex there. This is a trigger point. And it's a very interesting trigger point because it adds weight, it adds energy. It's like the universe is putting energy into this part of the chart. Then if we move round to the 6th house, which is about our day-to-day routine, it's about our pets, it's about service to others, our health. We have Neptune and we have the North Node in Aries. Now the North Node is going to move into Pisces. So at some point it's going to be conjunct Neptune. And the North Node is where we want to get to. It's our destiny. It's our karmic path. And I think this year we're very much going to want to get our house in order and feel that we have a little bit more control before the North Node moves into the waters of Pisces, where we can sometimes feel that we lose sight of our direction and how to organize our day-to-day routine. So Neptune is suggesting that what we have to be mindful of is our own kind of psychological and mental health. We need to know ourselves so well. The better you know yourself, the less likely you are to react or fall victim to the pitfalls and potholes along the timeline of 2025. So that if we move into the 5th house, which is ruled by Aquarius, but it's a Leo house natally, we've got Saturn here and Venus in Aquarius. So Saturn in Pisces is direct. So that's helpful. So Saturn is putting form into the fun we can have with playing with our awareness that actually we have a lot of psychic capabilities that we're all becoming much more aware of telepathy, of insight, of knowing with a capital K, of just kind of being one step ahead of the game. Venus there in Aquarius is elevating us up to a point where we feel we can actually be in harmony much more with larger groups of people, the collective at large, in the sense that we can, what can I say? We will feel more valued by others. I think because we've done the work that I've been describing as we have gone round this chart. And so that Venus will actually empower us to feel much more in touch with our self-worth and value, and be able to radiate that out to others. And then if we come to the fourth house, which is ruled by Capricorn. Now the fourth house, of course, is about home and family. Now it's interesting because Capricorn is a very austere and cold sign. And please, if you're Capricorn and listening, don't take offense at that. You will know what I mean. You have your ways of doing things. It doesn't mean you're not fun. Of course you have fun, and because you won't just have every single planet or aspect in your chart in Capricorn. But Capricorn is a cold, austere, structured sign, and it is the way we've always done things. So there's something here about the energy with Pluto right in the middle in Aquarius saying, whoo, let's change all of this. We are all going to be moved out of our comfort zone this year. The sun and the moon are here. I find that super interesting. The sun. This is the soul of this chart. This is our collective soul for where we go forward to next year. This is our beating heart of our particular solar system. This is really going within and knowing ourselves well. Athena, the asteroid, is there bringing sense and sensibility and common sense and balance and harmony. And the moon in Capricorn, in its fall, it rules Cancer, so it's in the sign opposite the sign it rules. So the moon here is saying, I know it's going to be hard sometimes, and it's going to feel like you can't, or we can't drag ourselves out of what could be quite a difficult time for humanity. But Pluto's presence is saying, but we can do it. We can do it. We can transform, but we have to let go of the old ways of doing things. If we do that, we win. If we reinvent ourselves, we win. If we change, if we allow the change to come in, we win. And then we have Ceres in Aquarius. Ceres is, she's home. She is the home. She is representing hearth and home. And that actually the community itself is our home. Like in my Sunday night live streams, you've all named yourselves our soul fam. And in a sense, that's what we need to encourage on the whole of the planet, that we are a soul fam. And so that energy in the fourth house is really quite interesting. If we come to the third, wow, communication, it's ruled by Sagittarius. Innovation, teaching, learning. My goodness, are we going to learn a lot this year? Are we going to find things out about everything? Spirituality. We are going to find things out about these higher frequencies, these spiritual energies. We are going to want to stretch our minds beyond where they've ever been before. Mercury is here in Sagittarius, kind of emphasizing that energy, being quite fiery, quite overexcited almost about, so what it's doing is it's warning us to not get too carried away with what we're doing, because Mercury has just gone past an opposition to Jupiter. So we mustn't let ourselves get totally carried away, where we then get things out of perspective and out of proportion. We've got to keep some common sense and some we've got to ground this fiery energy, and we just have to. But if we move to the second house, which is ruled by Scorpio, now Scorpio of course is ruled by Pluto, and the second house is very much about our own personal self-worth, our financial situations, our homes, our properties. It's also about our, it's how we earn our money. And I think some people are going to be taking very different paths that they did not expect to take this year in their way forward. They might be surprising themselves quite a lot. And what's interesting is the asteroid Juno is here in Scorpio, indicating that actually through working with another, so we're back to this thing about unity becoming duality, the one becoming the two, the yin and the yang, to become the whole. Because the asteroid Juno is about, it's about commitment and marriage. And so there may well be a sense of, in situations and relationships where everyone or both parties have been too lazy, reticent, hesitant about making any commitment, that finally they will decide, oh, come on, let's go for it. What have we got to lose? Let's make it happen. That is some of the energy that's around, which then brings us back to the beginning and maybe know the place for the first time. Our Libra ascendant and relationship ruling the first house. So relating and relationship is going to be super important to us this year, not just with a single other, but with collective others, with all creeds, all religions, to bring harmony and balance back into the equation. And also the inner harmony, to bring the two warring sides of ourselves together in that conjunctio. And with Vesta, the goddess of the harvest, here at the 29th anaretic degree of Libra, suggesting we can reap the reward of all the hard work we have put in through the whole of our lifetimes. We have those opportunities if we choose to take them. Remember, the choice is always up to you. It's not up to me, it's not up to the cosmos. But sometimes if we don't understand our chart, we can become a kind of a pawn to it. So we're in a boat that doesn't have a rudder. We're just tossed around all over the place and really have no idea what direction we're going in. So I'm going to bring this overview to a close now, and I want to finish with just a quote, because I thought, and Jerry, maybe you can take our chart down now. And it's a quote by Rumi, and I thought it would be a nice way to bring this to a conclusion and as a kind of thought for the year ahead. And the quote is, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." I'll say it again. The wound is the place where the light enters you. So on that note, I will bring this lengthy overview for 2025. I had no idea it would be so long. So if any of you have made it to the end, congratulations. I'll give you a gold star. And remember that the links to your individual zodiac signs will be in the description box beneath this video. And I really hope that you have got something important and that what stays with you is what you've needed to hear from this particular video. So please, as always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I would be super grateful. Thank you to all the new subscribers that have recently joined. I really value your presence here and appreciate your support. So on that note, I'll say ciao to my soul fam, and I will see you as usual on my weekly live week ahead live streams on a Sunday night in Europe and the rest of the world at different times. And also the Astrobites, which you've all been asking about, will start again in January. But there'll only be 2 a week because doing any more was just I was burning myself out as usual because that's what I always do. But you know, maybe this year I'm going to get harmony and balance into things and actually try not to burn myself out, but get some balance and harmony. And of course, remember, if you would like to have an astrology natal chart and transit reading with me, or a follow-up session if you've already had a natal chart reading with me, check out my website for the prices, and that is pennydix.com, and send me an email to penny@pennydix.com. It's all in the description box. I've closed my booking system because as a fixed Taurus, I'm incredibly controlling. And I want to be able to kind of work out when I have clients and how many a week and how I fit it all in. Because I'm trying to get some structure or better structure into my life so that I have time to do the other things that I'm passionate about. One being the videos for this channel, and of course the videos that I'm making with Sarah Sands-Smith for our channel, Channeling with Penny and Sarah. And remember to check that out if you've not done so already. So I'll say at this point, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful new year. And I really wish you a very happy, healthy, and prosperous and successful 2025. Bye for now.